Jamar.
What's going on YouTube?
Washington.
This is Jamar here once again.
Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is your boy Jamar84 here to talk about this week's episode of Chasing Atlanta. This is episode 6, You Can't Be Trusted. And before I get started, I want to thank y'all so much for all of the, love, support, and engagement that we got on the last review. Like, of all the Chasing Atlanta reviews, they got like maybe 300-400 views. That one got like almost 4,000. So y'all were really engaged and wanted to talk about, all of what happened on last week, which was a lot. And I'm sure we all saw the uncut version and got a little bit more background. And shout out to both Dominique and Troy, whom I got to speak with, off camera personally, and they were able to give me even more like backside of what was going on. I was on Dominique's live the other night, and really, really appreciative. So y'all stay tuned for more news about that. And let's go ahead and talk about this week, because this week I didn't know how they were going to do like a follow-up to this, or how we were going to come to any sort of like resolve and tie everything back up. But this was probably one of my favorite episodes of the season, and we'll get more into why that is later. So we start this episode off where we piggyback up of where we left off last week, right? Everybody's still hammering, going in, tensions are high, adrenaline is running, it's a mess. So while Troy is like sort of being carried out and they're like in the parking lot or on the outside of the building, Cam and Dominique, I think at least I know Cam for sure. I think Cam is out there with Troy and Oliver. They're heading one way. And then we have Dominique coming back and sort of escorting Kendra and Wayne across the street. So of course there's like, all of this going from across the way. And, one thing that Troy did mention, I believe he mentioned this in his confessional, is that to Oliver specifically, like, where were you at? Like, I'm fighting Kendra and Wayne for you, but you didn't throw any punch. Like, you didn't get into the fight at all. He was kind of looking at you like, this is supposed to be my event, and I picked you to sort of help host and be somewhat of a peacemaker, and yet you're causing the fight that I got into. So, I mean, Troy's still, at least in this moment, I think he's still like, I still, love you, Oliver, and all that good stuff. But that moment, that right there, not cute. Which I could understand, because I actually saw, as I was watching this episode, I saw Oliver post on Instagram a lot of his tweets and how he talked about the week after he had like a photo shoot with a Sephora brand lipstick or lip gloss, and so he didn't want to, potentially mess up his gig, and he's not really what he was trying to do, which I understand. But at the same time, if you see your friend that you're supposed to be like, helping out get into a fight, like, you have to diffuse it whichever way you can. Like, you can't just sit back and just say like, throw your hands up. Like, no, you have to get engaged as well. I'm not saying that you have to throw any punches, but you have to diffuse, grab, like, do something. Grab somebody and try to subdue them, and do something, because it's for you to kind of let that happen at your friend's birthday is a little bit it's unfortunate. I'll say that it's unfortunate. And then when we get out to the parking lot, right, you guys, we get out to the parking lot and we see Troy. Now again, I tell y'all, I've luckily been blessed enough to get to communicate with both Troy and Dominique outside of the show, and we communicate via text. Troy, I know he was, you could tell by the way in his voice that he was legitimately upset, and he was telling, I forget who he was yelling, whose name, he was telling him to pop the trunk, right? So I'm thinking like he about to get out something, like a crowbar, he about to pull out the Glock, like he about to pull out a real like weapon, like he's really, really mad. Does Troy, the sister, sis, when you pulled out that tripod out that trunk, girl, I said, now, sis, what you gonna do with that? what you could that tripod is delicate as fuck. Tripods are not meant to be sturdy like that. They are designed to like hold up the very, tiny camera in one specific spot. That ain't no weapon. But again, it's probably all she had. No, actually, no, it wasn't all she had. It was not all that she had, because after she pulled that tripod out, and they was going back and forth in the parking lot or across the lawn or whatever, and even then, side note, while they was doing that, to me, it looked somewhat unreasonable or unrealistic, I should say. It looked a little bit unrealistic for. Now, we just saw how crazy, well, I want to say crazy because that's offensive, how energetic and aggressive that both Wayne and Kendra can be, right? Because we saw how Wayne turned around that table like a Tasmanian devil after Troy, and we saw how Kendra gets buck in people's faces and start tossing shit, right? It felt unrealistic that yet somehow Rico was able to hold both of them back in that parking lot. I felt like if they really wanted to get to Troy, they could have. Because they looked like they was getting restrained. I'm like, y'all ain't really getting restrained, child. If y'all really wanted to run and get at him, Rico would not have been able to stop y'all. But I understand they probably just didn't want to set it off even further than they already had, because they probably would have got in more trouble potentially. But I was like, child. So anyway, Dominique's trying to calm Troy down, and of course Troy's like hostile, like, Dominique, don't touch me. I'm trying to, I'm in the car, just don't touch me, blah, blah, blah. You know how people get when they get mad. They say like, oh, don't touch me. And I'm like, girl, I'm not about to sit here and let you do nothing dumb. Okay. You get mad at me if you want to, but I'm not gonna sit here and let you do anything dumb. All right? Now I'm trying to be a good friend. But again, I understand Troy's position, but he's just like, girl, just don't let the adrenaline and all that stuff get you into a worse situation that you don't need to be in. So, from what I knew, Troy was already in the car. I thought Troy actually was gone. I actually thought Troy was gone. But then, he gets out, or he got out of somewhere because the camera wasn't panned to him. It looked like he either tried to throw the whole bottle at Kendra and it broke, or somebody took it out of his hand and it broke, or he broke it and tried to like attack her with the glass. I'm just like, whoa. Child, excuse me, but damn. I was like, oh, child, now Troy, girl. Oh, now, even if that, now Troy, you know I love you, sister, and I know this was said in a moment of anger, and the tensions were high, but when you called her a tranny in a realm of anger, I can't side with you on that one, girl. And I know you said it in a time of anger, but that was not it. That was not it, because guess what? When we're fighting, and with somebody who is straight and they call us the F word, oh, we want to go off. So we can't use slurs. Like, we can call and say anything else, but once we start throwing those types of words out, then it becomes a completely different situation. And that's not a situation that I want to see you in as my friend. And I know you're probably looking back on that situation like, ooh, damn, I shouldn't have said that. And you know that, so I don't need to tell you that. But I'm just like, oh, that was so disappointing to see. But I'm sure, like I said, I know tensions was high, and you had just got into this physical altercation, but I was like, oh, girl, no. We can't be going there. We're going to be going there. So now when Troy's finally in the car, and it looks like Rico is like standing up against the car to make sure that he is held inside his vehicle, I was just like, ooh, child. So it looks like they kind of kept him there and they hoisted Kendra off. So now Troy and Rico go back upstairs where Oliver is going off, doing this, that, and forth, blah, 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 saying, how Kendra should act, that she's supposed to be a queen, act as such, and you shouldn't have respect for the platform and this, that, and forth. Which, I mean, in that moment, I could agree. I could definitely see why he feels that way, because she did kind of come there, Kendra did kind of come there ready to fight. But we get so much more of a backstory as to why Kendra felt the way that she did at the end of the episode, which I want to make sure that we wait until that point comes to actually dive into that, because I want to say that I was right. I want to say that I was right. So, and then I noticed that when Oliver was saying all this, that everybody, that he had a plate, and I saw a couple other people that went and got that plate of that lobster, because they did not let that $30 go to waste, okay? So I thought that was, whew, it was a lot. Tensions was high, things were said, and I cannot wait to get these people on me and Scotty's platform so we can discuss everything further. So actually, let me just go ahead and say this right here, right now, because I'm gonna put it on Instagram later today. So we have, because I know Scotty and I do the prelude, right? So Scotty and I are actually booked to interview both Kendra and Wayne next week, December 10th, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and 6:30 p.m. over here in Pacific Time, okay? So make sure y'all tune in. It is going to be a wonderful session. I'm so excited. We're gonna ask all the questions, and we're gonna say everything. Like, it's gonna be real and honest. So I wanna make sure y'all are tuned in for that. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. So as they were sitting there after they reconvened, Dominique brings up the issue that he had with Travis, right? So he says that I didn't really, appreciate when you greet somebody that you don't really try to pull them down. And now, mind you, and this is something that Dominique told me, is that because due to the pandemic, that they could not film as soon as they would have liked. So quite a few months went by between the scene of the Christmas party at Troy's apartment and this brunch, like 6 months, okay? So that was the reason why he said he didn't mention anything to Travis, because they couldn't really film and they wanted to discuss it on camera. Now, that was what Dominique told me off camera. Now, on camera, we see Travis said that, oh, well, you see me at this place and you see me at that place, why didn't you bring it up then? You decided to bring it up in front of the group. Be that as it may, even if you see somebody at a particular setting, it may not be the time or place to try to hash out something like that. But however, I do feel like Dominique would have addressed the situation much sooner if they were able to film the time that they normally would have filmed. But, of course, due to the pandemic, they couldn't do that. So, I mean, it is what it is. Travis didn't really take it too hard. He was like, I'm just gonna let her say what she needs to say and, just do whatever we have to do so we can move past it. So I'm glad that we don't have to just necessarily discuss that anymore. So in this next scene, we get to see Lauren, and she is doing a photo shoot for her new hairline. And we see her on the phone talking with one of her business partners about, the budgeting and that she's gonna do for this funny video and video song that she's gonna put out. One thing I can say is Lauren is one of the, I guess, the most visible people on here that's not as involved with the drama, so to speak, at least on camera anyway, because not on camera, she's still involved with it, because we saw from the brunch in a way, but she's really out here, chasing your dreams, making things happen, and just building a brand and doing what she wants to do. And I respect that. It's very admirable to see. So I'm very glad to see her out there doing the damn thing and just showing that you don't always have to just be the regular, person. You can go out and do whatever it is that you want to do. Okay, so I shout out to Lauren for that. So this next scene is probably one of my favorites. I love the scenes where, we all enjoy the fight scenes. We do. We love the drama. We love the whole rah, rah, rah of it. But it's so rewarding to also get the scenes where you get to see the real person behind the cast member. And we saw this with Rico and his friend, King KB, who I recognized him. I saw him somewhere else earlier, and it could have been a preview for this episode. But I actually know him from Houston because I used to live in Houston for 6 years before I moved to LA. And so I was like, I know him. So it was cool to see a familiar face from Houston. But apparently they know each other very well, and he's very comfortable. And Rico was talking about how, he's been here, I think at the time, for like maybe 7 months or so, and he hadn't really got to know anyone. And he, wasn't necessarily too comfortable. He's making some friends, but they're not, know how there's some people that you're cool with, that you met, but they're not really close enough where you feel comfortable to sort of share and be vulnerable with. So he, talks about how he wants to, of course, continue to do his music, and he wants to, invite his friend to do some music with him. And he shared how, and he almost got into this, not too much at the uncut version of Brunch, how he almost lost his mother, okay? And he almost lost her because she was suffering from heart disease, and she ended up having a heart attack. And, he got the call at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and, I feel like most of us, and of course it's not everybody's case, even I believe in Dominique, for example, is not the case, but most of us, as Black LGBT, have a really special connection with our mothers, who normally, when everybody else, the whole world will, cast us aside, the whole world will demonize us and call us this, that, and the fourth. Usually the one person in the world that we can depend on to nurture us, tell us that we're amazing, be our biggest cheerleader, and tell us we're going to be there to help us navigate through this lifestyle is our mom. I know I share everything with my mom, and even though we may not always get along, like, I always feel more comfortable telling her stuff than anybody else. So I can only imagine if I got that same kind of phone call. So I knew exactly what Rico was talking about, and I love how it fueled him to want to pursue his dream more, because that was something that his mother believed in, and it was such an amazing sight to see. And shout out to Rico for this incredible scene. So in this new scene, we see Oliver getting his face done for an upcoming project, and in walks his boyfriend, and I'm like, boyfriend, have you seen the scenes with him and old boy? That's the only thing I can think about, because I was wondering, like, did he have a boyfriend at the time that he was doing this? Because you had a boyfriend at the time that he was doing this, and you went to go see that man, and that man came and gave you flowers, and he was talking about marriage and how he used to do stuff with y'all, and I'm like, how is this going on with your current relationship? Does he know about this? That's the only thing I was thinking the whole time, was I'm like, I thought he may have been like newly in a relationship, and he didn't. It was long before this dude, and I'm like, oh, so this is happening at the same time. I would love to see how that went, because that's going to be one of the first questions I ask him if I ever get the chance. So, but anyways, they was talking about how his man is a trained dancer. He can choreograph for some of our favorite artists. He's from Florida, and he's hood. That's what we learned. And he gave this whole cute story about how they met, how he tried to approach him in like a bar or a party or something, and he ended up like kind of ghosting him until like almost a year later. He saw him on Instagram, or he followed him on Instagram, looked through his page, and was like, oh, he's cute. And then the rest is kind of history. So it was interesting to see Oliver kind of be, I want to say, tender. It was like a more tender, soft side to, what we've originally known him to be, just kind of messy and like really like loud and aggressive. But he kind of went into himself and kind of like subdued himself to like being around, his boyfriend. So I think we all kind of get like that when we're around our significant others, assuming it's a healthy relationship. But I think we all kind of get like that, and it was kind of good to see him be in that element. So in this next scene, we actually see Lauren in a recording studio recording her new song, Funny. And while she's, when she finishes recording, she goes out and she sees Oliver, who is, there supporting her, listening to her record her music. And so he's like, hey, what's going on? Of course, they're good friends, and they're kind of updating each other on what's been going on. And Oliver updates her on the birthday brunch, okay? Excuse me. And he was like, you know what, thank you. Oh, she was like, I'm sorry I couldn't make it. And Oliver was like, thank you for your edible arrangement, but let me tell you something. That whole gesture started up an entire shitstorm, okay? And she was like, what are you talking about? It was like, oh, my bad, I thought it was your event, blah, blah, blah. He was like, as soon as you said that, Little Kendra went off. I felt like, Little Kendra, first you told me that I was gonna be good, but then when you weren't there, and she kind of took everything out on me, and Lauren's just like, girl, me not even being there, hoes is still gonna be mad, and I'm not even there. And, so, and of course, they just started really just going in on Kendra. Like Lorna said all kind of shit, and Oliver was talking about how she was trying to, how they were all fighting on each other, and he was like, she's mad about a YouTube stream that him, Lauren, and Q did over a year ago. And he was like, well, our YouTube stream got more streams than your music videos. I was like, oh, Lord have mercy, Jesus. But see, the thing is, even if that's the case, because I still haven't watched that, even though they referenced it a lot, I still haven't watched it. But the thing is, if you disrespected her the way that she said you disrespected her, it doesn't really matter. She's gonna have a problem with you until you resolve that. So you giving these comments aren't gonna help. You say you want to be amicable, you want to speak civilly, like you can't be sitting here reading the dog shit out of her because she feels a way about what you said. You know what I mean? So now granted, I still love them, but I'm just like, you can't be acting like you just don't know why she's so aggressive. Like, girl, you know exactly why she's pissed. You may be confused as to why she's been pissed this long, but you know why she's pissed. Oliver. Okay, so for this next and final scene, this was my favorite scene of the episode. Okay? First of all, my friend, Miss Dominique, I saw her in that towel with her and her man on all them flowers, and all those peoples was naked and things, and I'm just like, woo, child. That was hot. That was hot. I was into it. I was into it. I was like, yes, God, man. Yes, ma'am. So they're doing their 7-year anniversary, looking hot and sexy and things of this nature. And so after they finished, well, with the first, look or whatever, they finished with the first look, and they meet up with Wayne, Kendra, Cam, and Dominique's friend, I forget his name, who is a licensed counselor. And so he says he's trying to bring everybody around so that they can kind of, try to, not necessarily like bring like a kumbaya circle necessarily, but just have like someone there to help mediate what happened and probably try to navigate emotions and things that happen. Now, I wish that you were probably there during Saturday. I felt like things could have potentially gone a different route, but let me tell y'all this. This mindset that Kendra had in this scene is what I wish we could have gotten in the brunch scene. I wish we could. She was so candid. She was so vulnerable. She was so open. And it made me just fall so much more in love with Kendra, because I'm telling, I told y'all that her anger and that outburst of attacking Oliver and, all of that happened on that brunch had nothing to do with Oliver, Q, Lauren, or anybody else in that room, okay? She was mad and she was upset because she had just lost one of her friends, one of her good, close friends, to an act of violence. I can't remember the number that she said, but there was a significant number of trans women killed within that month, like within 30 days that she knew of in Atlanta. And one of them just so happened to be a close friend of hers, okay? And she mentioned how her close friend used to be an escort and how Kendra herself was an escort, once before. And one thing, because I have had quite a few Black trans women in my life, and a few of them are really close friends of mine, and a lot of them have shared that if they don't have to escort, which is very common that most of them do, they have to jump job to job because somebody spills their tea or somebody decides that they can fire them depending on what state they're in for being trans. And it's just a whole bunch of unnecessary hurdles that a lot of them have to endure. So, escorting is a very common and an easy way to make money without having to worry about being fired. So I assume that maybe her friend may have gotten caught up in a deal where maybe the client, either had all intentions on attacking her in the first place or didn't know that she was a trans woman and tried to attack her. The situation doesn't really matter, but the fact that she lost her friend, in an act of violence, and the killer is still on the loose, which is something we hear about so often, caused her to already be in a state of pain, really. It was a state of pain and anger, frustration, and I guess just her being around someone like Oliver, who she feels already doesn't care about her. And I think him mentioning, trans women are being killed, and her feelings towards Oliver, it just set off a switch in Kendra, and it just went from there. And I knew that it had to be something like that when she talked about y'all don't know where I've been, y'all don't know what I've been through, I worked my ass off. I'm like, wait, this has nothing to do with what just happened. When she starts saying that, I'm like, you're feeling a hurt and pain from something else that has nothing to do with this event. And I'm so glad that she shared that. Like, it was so moving to watch Kendra. And then when Travis came and she apologized directly to him, I'm like, yes, Kendra, yes. This is what we wanted at the brunch, girl. This is what we wanted. And I'm so glad. I can't wait to talk to Kendra next week. I cannot wait to talk to Kendra next week. Make sure y'all are tuned in and subscribe to Scotty by Nature TV so y'all can be tuned in for this interview that we have with Wayne and Kendra on December 10th at 9:30 Eastern Time, 8:30 Central Time, and 6:30 Pacific Time. That should get all the time zones for anybody who wants to tune in live. It's going to be incredible. God, that I love that scene. And everybody just sort of had a moment where it just felt like so much resolution. And it would have been so much more perfect had, Oliver and Troy been there, but I granted it probably was too soon. I feel like they needed to have somewhat of a healing moment with themselves before they approached that. That would have been a little, I don't know if people would have been ready to listen at that moment. So I'm just so glad that we got to see it. And then she was upset, and she even admitted that, I think it was Travis that made a point and said, I feel like you and Oliver still kind of, even though y'all argue, y'all still have like a love and a care for one another to a degree. And she said, yeah, she's like, when we were recording that song, she's like, that's when I felt like we, that was like the real him, like we really connected, but there was just a whole lot of miscommunication and just blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. A whole lot of just unnecessary, BS in between it. And she was hurt because I was surprised when Troy had threw that drink at Kendra. I was like, wow, I thought they were friends. But I do understand Troy's frustration when she was like, this is, or when Troy was like, this is my event, I really didn't want y'all to come. Like, he was frustrated that she was sort of playing a part in ruining his birthday party. So I understand why he was mad. But she was just such in shock. And she was like, you're, defending Oliver. And if y'all remember at that Christmas party, Kendra told Troy, he was like, and you need to watch out. Because now Troy was kind of looking at Oliver crazy because it's like, why am I over here fighting Wayne and Kendra for you? And you not throwing no blows. So I think, that was Kendra's way of saying, I told you so. I told you so. That ain't nobody's fucking friend. And I mean, we're going to have to see how this proceeds further. I know in the next scene we see Dominique with Oliver and other people at the table. I couldn't really tell who it was, but he didn't want to make Oliver feel like he was attacked, and Oliver got up and left, so I'm going to have to see what that's all about. But I think I pretty much mentioned everything that I wanted to mention about this episode. This was such a great episode. I'm glad there was so many things that was kind of hashed out, and Kendra really got her feelings out. It helps to sort of explain why she felt the way that she felt. It doesn't make it right, but it definitely makes more sense as to why she felt the way that she did. So again, thank y'all so much for all the engagement, all of the support. I see the subscribers have gone up. I'm super, super appreciative. And again, make sure you guys, if you haven't already, donate to the GoFundMe with Scotty and I's upcoming podcast fund that we're trying to make. We've already reached over half of our goal. We're trying to reach up to $1,200 to purchase a new MacBook laptop for editing purposes. and we've already reached like $725, so we are almost there. And I want to thank each and every one of you who have donated, each and every one who thought about donating but haven't yet, and each and one who will plan to donate in the future. I thank each and every one of y'all. My name is Jamar84. My social media links will be in the bottom bar below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Like, share, subscribe.
Jamar.
Washington.